Connor has a question for you.
Yeah, Lambo, two of the guys we thought were going to be hired and at least have a lot of interest for Mike Vrabel and Bill Belichick. Now, the Falcons have had 14 head coaching interviews, so maybe that is still very much on the table, and they have another second interview, in-person interview, rather, today. And now that there's only 3 jobs left, and it doesn't seem as though Belichick has any interest from Seattle, and then the commies already came out and said, hey, we're not hiring Bill Belichick. What do you think?
That makes sense. Yeah, they've got a track record of success there. That would make sense.
New ownership.
Yeah, of course I would say that. I would say that too. Yeah, sure.
It doesn't really make much sense. Like, what is going on there? It feels like it is becoming very real that Belichick is not going to coach next season, at least as a head coach, unless Atlanta hires him. What do you think happens there? Do you think he takes that year off and then comes back next year when some of the other jobs that were up in the air might be open? And what do you think happens with Mike Vrabel, too, now that there's only these 3 spots left?
Well, I can't speak for Mike or Bill in terms of what they will do, but what I can tell you is what's going on in the league. And last year, it's the same situation. I mean, Sean Payton does not get the Denver job if DeMeco Ryans takes it, right? I mean, that was the only job he was up for, and he couldn't get. And DeMeco took Houston over Denver, and that opened up the door for Sean to get back in there. Look, it's pretty obvious that these teams today, they talk about winning, they talk about all the things they want to do, but they don't really want to give somebody the authority they need to build a culture. They like their culture. They don't want to change. And so when you have the greatest coach of all time out there and you're in Carolina and you don't even interview him, what does that really say about your franchise? And look, Dave Canales could be the best coach ever. I'm not disputing that. But to me, when you have a guy who's got 6 Super Bowl trophies, been to 9, was the elite defensive coordinator in the league, and you're not bringing him in, or Mike Vrabel, what he's done, to me, it just says that we like our process. We like everybody in a collaborative mode more than we want to just hand the keys to the store to somebody. And I think, to me, it doesn't really send a signal that you're really trying to win. I mean, are you really trying to get the best coach for your program? And look, I think it's fairly obvious to me. If I were a GM in the league and I had a chance to interview Vrabel, I had a chance to interview Belichick, that's what I would do, because those guys could do it. But really, who's judging them? Like, you evaluate the evaluators here now. Let's evaluate the evaluators for a second. You bring in Belichick. Is really Terry Fontenot interviewing Belichick? I mean, I'd like to watch that. You know, is Dan Morgan interviewing Belichick about football, about understanding the complexities of how to build it? I mean, come on, seriously. What you're saying is that's not for you, and that's fine. They own the teams. But if you're talking about really trying to win and you're not even going down that road, to me, that are you really?
Yeah, it's interesting, and obviously you're tight with Bill Belichick and have had a lot of success and, you know, respect, as we all do, about Bill Belichick. We're all,
but it's the same for Vrabel, though. Like, I don't have a relationship with Mike. I like Mike. I know Mike. We say hello. I've never worked with Mike, but like for me, same thing with Pete Carroll. I mean, Pete Carroll's a proven winner.
Yeah, he's 72, and allegedly he was lobbying for the Los Angeles Chargers job.
He was.
Whenever you talk about, like, what was said about Lamar, too, whenever he was potentially available, and teams were going out of their way to come out and say, we're not interested, we're not interested. A lot of us were like, why would you even say that publicly? And there's 14 interviews. I think the Colts did 23 interviews.
Something like that.
For head coaching jobs. And it's like, Bill Belichick not getting interviewed is a fascinating thing. Because we thought he would just pick where he wanted to go. And now, look, the steam's falling
off. Look at Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers got a job, and he picks the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, it's different in the NBA. In the NFL, it's a little bit different, and so you got to understand the rules of engagement here, right? You got to understand that, and it's fine. Teams can go ahead, but don't talk about winning. Don't talk about we're going to hire the best guy. What we're talking about is protecting our desk. That's the great George Young's line from 1980. People want to protect their desk in the league. They don't want change.
Yeah, well, change brings a lot of things. A lot of energy has to be taken to make the change smooth. There's a full transition of power that has to take place, a new way of doing things, maybe a potential new building that you have to add on to. There's a lot that you have to commit to potentially with all change, let alone a Bill Belichick coming in who's potentially been, the whole thing.
Yes.
Wild times. We still don't know how it's going to shape up.